Stopping from where we left off in lab 1, we're going to continue to lab 2. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the point groups and right click, go properties. I'm going to send the no-show all the way to the bottom. I'm going to apply and OK. So I want to go ahead and start creating my topo map. So I'm going to connect all the back of curbs to the face of curb, put in the sidewalk, look at the storm catch basin. So I've got 4 points here. I've got my trees labeled. I've got topo information. So it shouldn't take me much longer to clean up this topo map. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to isolate. Again, just as a review, I'm going to send the no-show to the top. And then I want to focus on the sidewalk. Apply and OK. So now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a layer. And I'm going to call it 0-FAU-SW for sidewalk. I'm going to make that current. Okay. And I'm going to close. So now you can see that it's current up here. Come down here and go PL for polyline. And I'm just going to start connecting the points. Okay. Like such. And I have my O snap on for the node. Okay. And make sure it's highlighted. So I'm going to snap around here. It's also helpful to have your lost my train of thought. Have the aerial on behind you if you can. And I'm just connecting the dots. Okay, I don't have a dot there, so, and there's a return. This isn't the best, it's not the worst. There apparently is sidewalk to the building, so we'll connect that up in a bit. All right. And then I'm just going to start connecting here. Okay, this is why we have the point groups created, to make our life a little bit easier. And I'm going to go sidewalk, and I'm going to turn on the aerial, the geolocation. I'm not sure if yours works if you're using the VMware. Hopefully it does. But you do have to have a login. Again, mine is Valencia. See how this curves out? This isn't perfect. The area behind it might not be on the same state planes coordinate as we are. I'm not sure, but it does give us a nice idea of how this is supposed to connect. So if I wanted to, I could come over here. A lot of surveyors use a 3-point curve. If they knew that, for example, this should have had a radius in it. So I'm going to go ahead and type in TR for trim, and I want to show you the 3-point curve. So I'm going to get rid of this one and get rid of that one. I am going to turn the aerial off just so it's a little bit cleaner when I go to show you. Also, these points are based on a size. If you come over here and you change this to maybe 1 in 10, see how it gets smaller. So it doesn't, this is relative because it's on an annotative scale. This is relative to what scale you're telling it to view at. So when I go back to print, I'll go back and I'll change the scale down here so the paper space, model space, yada, yada, matches. But for right now, I just need these points a little bit smaller. And to do that easily, just change your annotation scale over here. All right, so back to what I wanted to show you to begin with. So what I'm going to do, go to your home tab, and there's a 3-point curve here, okay? So I'm going to use the 3-point curve and connect like that. So it's a nice smooth radius. TR is the trim command, and it automatically says to trim all. If you're using an older version, you actually have to hit enter for all. I get confused because I'm using Civil 3D 13. Civil 3D 2018 at work, and it's like I forget which one I'm using. So so nice smooth curves. Same way over here. I don't have a 3rd point over here, but I do over here. So I'm just going to type in TR and get rid of these like that. It should have had an extra point here, but we're novices when we did this survey, so that doesn't look right. We know that doesn't look right. So I am going to go ahead and leave this as, I'm going to undo this and leave it like that. I could estimate, but it's not always an ideal situation to estimate what the curve is doing, for the fact that if somebody, an engineer, actually had to tie in and they thought this elevation was true, then it wouldn't be a good idea. Here, I want to show you one other thing. Let's say this is an exhibit type of a topo where I'm not the survey points, like if we knew that it should have been an arc here, I could pull this out. If the guys in the field said, hey, we missed this topo point, however, we know that it comes out and then it turns into an arc. So when you're clicked on a polyline, note that this center grip will allow you to convert it to an arc. And then I can snap to, I just hit shift, right click, and I can do it to node like that. Shift right click, and I'm just pulling this down to make it something smooth. Okay, so that is an option there. So we've got our curves here. Same thing here. I'm going to come over here and go properties, and I'm actually going to send EOP to the top, edge of pavement, apply, and OK. Now I'm going to do a 3-point curve. I'm going to make this current, this layer current. See how when I click on it, it says FAU EOP. If you click make current, now this is the current layer. And you always should really work with your layer management. Make sure my snaps are on. I could do a 3-point curve here. That makes it look nicer. I can type in trim, and then I can trim out these. Okay. Same with this here. I can do a 3-point curve. And then I can trim TR for trim, and I pick those. Do it over here. Some things work well, some things don't. That's definitely not what it's going to look like. So if I had a really good aerial behind it, like I can see this is supposed to curve out, I can click on this and add a vertex, and I can pull it out so it's a smooth curve. Add vertex, convert to a curve. So it's like such. So that's another option. You need to ask when you get to the company you're working for what they want to see, because I may do something different than the guys in the field do. So before, I'm going to undo those two because I want to see what a 3-point curve would give me. So I'm going to click on 3-point curve. Snap, snap, snap. That looks better. And then I'm going to hit enter again and make the last curve. I'm going to turn off the aerial. Not all the guys in my office use the aerial because the aerial wasn't something that was available in the previous versions that they were using. So they are not aware of this aerial. And I try to show them, and it doesn't always work when you're trying to teach people new tricks. So, but the aerial really does give a nice way to see what's out in the field. And typically the aerials are current. Okay, so that looks a lot better. Okay, so now I'm going to go to my point groups, and this time I am going to send no show to the top, and I'm going to look at FOC or BOC. I'm gonna put BOC to the top, and I'm going to send FOC to the top as soon as I find it. Face of curb. And I have a horrible time spelling. I can't believe I misspelled that. Sorry, guys. Apply and OK. So there is the face of the curb and the back of the curb. Depending, I had multiple groups out in the field collecting the data. So not all the data, not everybody did what was supposed to be on the sheet for the naming convention. I'm going to turn on the aerial one more time. Now, there is a curb through here, okay? So, and you see that there's a gap. So we know that technically this is supposed to connect. So I'm going to create a new layer. And unfortunately, I'm going to leave the aerial on because I need to know where's the gap. So I'm going to type in 0 dash. I'm just going to do curb, FAU dash curb, both face of curb and back of curb. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to change it to green, so hopefully we'll be able to see it when I draw it. And I'm going to make it current. To make it current, remember the little check mark. And make sure it's current up here. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to do a polyline. Now, some of our surveyors don't use polylines and they just use lines. If the group you work with just wants to use a line, then if you explode, X for explode, a polyline, it converts it to a regular line. If you just want to use a line, type in L for line and connect. So the team that was out there before apparently only picked up the face of curb and not the back of curb on all of this. But this gives us a good idea of where the curb returns are. Okay. All right, so that's the face of curb. Now I'm going to look, so the back of curb, there was only those 4 shots that I can see for the back of curb. We didn't pick up any over here, okay? And I don't believe there should have been a curb, so you can see the face of curb here, face of curb. So unfortunately, here's the problem. So one group, when they said that was the face of curb, we would have probably an offset, okay? So here is the edge of pavement and face of curb, right? So usually what the guys would do out in the field, I don't know if I know we have a few people that actually work in the field, they would measure the curb itself. Usually a curb is 6 inches to 2 feet. This, I believe, is just a thickened edge curve. So I'm going to use the offset command. And notice when I offset and I'm on the curb, I want to go and click on layer. And I want to click on current. So when I offset the edge of pavement, I'm going to offset it 0.5. So a half a foot, because I think this is a thickened edge. When I offset this line, it is going to put it on the proper layer. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just leave it a half. The survey our survey people that picked up this data wasn't accurate. We didn't do a good job, but it was their first time, so better than nothing. So the other thing that you can do is I use annotate. So if I do annotate and aligned, and I click on the node for the face of curb and I go perpendicular, this says it's 0.15 feet. So that is only 0.15 times 12. That's only 1 point, it's not even 2 inches. So I think there's an error there. I use annotate and then I delete the lines. I know that our guys in our office don't use annotate. They actually use, give me a second, they do old school. So they're not even using the ribbons. They're using the classic. And I'm looking for inquire. Oh, give me a moment. I'm going to put you on pause. Hold on. So if you go to the Analyze tab, you can use the inquiry tools. So I know the guys in our office use the distance a lot, and more often than distance. I don't, because I tend to forget stuff. So I use the annotation so it actually shows up. So I'm going to snap from here, shift right click, and perpendicular. So it actually tells you the delta distance, the x distance, the change. Delta x means the change. So it's 0.145 and 0.04, and the z elevation is 5 feet. Now the distance, I'm trying to look for the actual. The only reason I don't use this one as much is because I actually want the horizontal distance, and this is only going to give me the change in X and the change in Y, but doesn't give me, if you draw a triangle, it's the legs. These two are the legs of the triangle. It doesn't give me the hypotenuse, and I typically want the hypotenuse of distance. Okay, so, but you can use the inquiry commands. I know the guys in our office do use the inquiry commands quite a bit. I don't. I just go ahead and use the annotate command, and I use aligned. If you do linear, then it's going to only give you the horizontal and vertical measurements as shown. Like, let me go over here. So if I hover over aligned, usually it'll pop up a picture. Give it 1 second. So aligned actually measures the distance between the 2 points, whereas the linear measures the horizontal. Give it a second. The horizontal or the vertical distance. Okay. So we don't want horizontal and vertical distance in this instant. We want the actual length of the line. All right. I'm going to go ahead and pause here. And what we're going to look at next is adding in the building, adding in some labeling, and then we'll move forward.